In this week's episode, we're sharing our 3 biggest takeaways from Atomicon 2025.
Welcome to JFDI with the two Lauras. This is the weekly podcast where we talk about all things related to social media marketing, working as a social media freelancer. And on today's show, as Laura's just said, we're going to talk about our 3 big takeaways from Atomicon. We are fresh back, although fresh might be a stretch. And yeah, we're just winging this one, hence the very brief kind of introduction. We're going to get straight into it, talk about everything that went down. That made it sound like there was loads of gossip. So, well, we'll see whether there is.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So, yeah, let's crack straight in. By the way, if you were at Atomicon and you came to see us, thank you. It was really lovely to meet so many people. If my voice goes during this recording, it's because we've spoken to so many people. And yeah, don't judge what we look like if you're watching on YouTube. We're both knackered. Let's do
Very
this.
knackered. So, like, saying we're fresh out of Atomicon is like the biggest stretch. Like,
Yeah,
we are
massive,
not fresh.
Massive lie.
I've literally just spent the last about hour just sat like that.
She literally, just before we pressed record, was like, where's my makeup brushes? I've never known Laura to worry about putting makeup on. So we know, yeah, there must be a reason. Anyway, yeah, we're back. It was great. Let me just start by saying that. Probably the best one yet. Those boys know how to put on an event.
Should we talk about what Atomicon is? Because
yes, good point. Yes.
It might not be the case, but there may well be people who actually don't know what Atomicon is.
Yeah.
And I think we take that for granted. Like, I've been to every one, either in person or virtual, since it started in 2019. And I just assume everybody knows what Atomicon is.
That is very, very good point.
But Atomicon is run by our friends Andrew and Pete. And it's a sales and marketing conference. But
I think conference is the wrong word to use.
Yeah, but
it is a conference on paper.
Word?
I don't know if there
they
is
need
one.
To create their own word.
Yeah.
Let's get on ChatGPT
It's like
later.
a massive party, community, education, inspiration event. It's more like a festival than a conference, but it's also not a festival. It's very unique.
They're in a league of their own, I think.
100%,
especially in the UK.
Yeah, 100%.
It's bright, it's colourful, it's friendly, it's diverse, it's
inclusive.
It's
funny.
It just attracts all the right people.
Yeah.
And so if you work in sales and marketing or you're a business owner, it's well worth going.
100%.
And we're going to chat a few things through in a bit, which will kind of hopefully help as well in terms of getting the most out of it, because it can be a lot. And we're quite introverted people, which always amazes people when we say that. But so it can feel a lot. So but it's well worth it. So
yeah. And also, I think we should just touch on like the speakers that they had, because the speakers they had this year, like, they always have really, really good speakers. Last year they had Davina McCall, like, you know, they're really, really good. This year the speakers were fantastic. They had people like Ryan Dice. They had our friend Teresa Heath Waring. They had so many really good people sharing really interesting, actionable things. And it's not like a massive sales pitch like a lot of conferences are. In fact, you're not allowed to pitch from the stage. And it's not just manifest this and woo that. It's none of that. It's like, this is why we like it, because we like that action taking stuff where we can go away and be like, right, let's do this, this and this. This is what we've learned. And this is what we're going to go and do afterwards.
I think there is some of that kind of more motivational.
Yeah, but it's not wanky stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of it's with action.
Exactly.
So it's all very well going, just manifest what you want and we're all good enough and all that kind of you go girl. It's all that, but you need to give people the steps to take to do that, and I think they do that well. I think this year they got that just perfectly. It was a great balance, I think, of kind of inspiration and action taking. And for me, I struggle with conferences in general because of that. Like, I want to walk away with either an amazing idea, which we did, or literally like steps I need to take, like to achieve something. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
No,
It could just be
and
like,
ideally
oh my God,
it's
I've never
not,
thought
to be
about doing
honest.
that way. Yeah, just things that you can just go, oh God, that's such a good idea. I'm going to go and try that and test it. And that's all. We all know that as sales and marketing, don't we? It's about trying new things. And I think sometimes you can get in your own way. You can kind of have blinkers on. You can forget that there are different ways to try things. You kind of lose that kind of creative thinking sometimes on a day-to-day basis. And Atomicon is a great place to just get those kind of creative juices running. And it's a great place. We're not being paid for this. Sponsored by.
No. Yeah, maybe we'll send them an invoice after.
Yeah, it's a great event. So
yeah. So before we get into the 3 takeaways, I want to ask you, what was your favourite bit?
I don't think I could pick one.
I've stumped her.
You have. Can I have two?
Okay, shall I go? Go on. Yeah, if you've got two, two.
No, you go, and then it might change. It might make me pick one.
Okay, so in terms of speakers, my favourite was Rory Sutherland.
Hang on. Are you having one or what?
My favourite bit was speakers, Rory Sutherland. I felt like his session, by the way, if you were at the event and you didn't go to his session, make sure you catch it up on replay. His session was so good. I can't even really explain. He's such a clever, smart, intelligent,
very clever.
Total opposite to us. Knows a lot about a lot. And everything he's saying, you're like, oh yeah, that's so true. Oh my God, that's so true. And his session was just brilliant. Really funny, really gave you a lot to think about, and kind of didn't want it to end. But yeah, so that was my favourite.
Yeah, well, and lots of people didn't want it to end because there was lots of boos.
I don't think he wanted it to end, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, well, that does help me then, because I was stuck between Rory and what I will say. So you've covered Rory. I love the most is the people.
Yeah.
Just the people you meet. Everyone's so friendly. Everyone's just so normal, like just easy to talk to. It doesn't matter whether you're talking to like one of the keynote speakers or you're talking to a tiny small business owner who has never been to a conference before. Everyone was just open to conversation, happy to speak to anybody. There were no airs and graces.
Yeah, no egos.
No egos. And like, it's just so nice, like comfortable. I think, like, I always take my hats off to people that go to these places alone and don't know other people. And I don't know whether I could ever do that. But I think if I was to go to any event alone, Atomicon would be it, because people are so lovely and welcoming. So that's me. So the people and Rory, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe we just need to arrange.
Like Rory isn't a person, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe we need to arrange an audience with Rory Sutherland.
Oh, that would be excellent. Yes, put that on your vision board.
Let's get on it.
Yeah. So, that leads us on nicely to the 3 things that I think we took away, because I think one of those was how good it is to see people in real life. And those in-person conversations, and not necessarily just conversations that you're having, but sometimes it's conversations that you're kind of earwigging on as well. Don't tell anyone we do that. But yeah, sometimes it's joining conversations halfway through and hearing about conversations that people have had with other people. And you don't really do that when you work from home in your pajamas on Zoom all day. You miss out on a lot of that. And like, if you're a regular listener, you know that I don't really leave my house very often. So to leave my house and go all the way to Newcastle for this is like a big deal. But it's a bit uncomfortable for me. And being around those people and having all those conversations, it's just like a game changer. And you only had to have one conversation and that can change everything. Like, we had one tiny little snippet of a conversation, probably less than 10 seconds of a conversation, that has solved a problem that we have been trying to solve for the last 5 years, which at some point we will be able to tell you about. Very exciting. But it's something we've been trying to do for literally 5 years and not been able to figure out how to do it, how to get the money to do it, like all of these things. And now we're like, shit, we've got the answer to this problem.
Like a huge game changer.
Yeah.
Off like
and
10
that wasn't from going to a session. It wasn't even from being in the building on the day. It was from being in the right place in Newcastle where other people who were attending the event were also hanging out.
And sharing. They were sharing their experiences, their processes, their things that they've done. You know, it was by people just being happy to share.
And to be very clear, these were people who we would never be able to have a conversation with anywhere else. They're not somebody who we would go and send a DM or, you know, happen to bump into somewhere else. So this could only happen at Atomicon. And I think we've had conversations like that before at Atomicon and also at Social Media Marketing World probably, but nowhere else have we ever had conversations like that. So I think it's the magic of the place.
Yeah, and I think it's just the whole people thing is just so there was so many people I spoke to who I probably would never jump in their DMs or not even necessarily engage with their content because it's not really relevant to me, but they're still people that I'm aware of, that they're in our world, and they would come over and be like, oh my God, Laura, tap me on the shoulder, like whisper in my ear or say something, and I'd be like, oh my God, you're just normal.
Yeah.
You're like someone who I could just bump into walking the dog and I wouldn't have any problems starting conversation with them.
Yeah.
But yet, through the power of social media and how people maybe build their brands, you kind of think, oh, they're not the people, they're not my people.
They're too many steps removed away from you that you wouldn't be able to. Like we met Ryan Dice, who we were talking to for a really long time, and he's not somebody who we ever would have thought we would have been in a position to have a conversation with. And probably if we had have thought we would have a conversation with him, would almost like shy away, feel like he's really too smart. He knows a lot more than we do, you know, kind of make you feel a little bit of imposter syndrome maybe. But it wasn't like that. And it's just like being in the right place at the right time, having conversations with people can make you think, actually, you know, these people are not, it's not that they are better than us, smarter than us, what have you. It's just that they've done the right things at the right time in the right order. And they have the experience. And at Atomicon, people are so willing to share that. And I don't think they're so willing in other places.
No.
But I do think if you are going to go to Atomicon, particularly Atomicon, or, you know, probably similar for other events, that you do, especially if you're like me and you are not someone who will really go and speak to people, you do have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You do have to feel a little bit awkward sometimes. And like anyone who spoke to me may not think that I looked like I was awkward or looked like I was uncomfortable. But honestly, the whole time I'm just like, oh my God, I need to go and speak to this person. Like really kind of, uncomfortable, but well worth it.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because you never look uncomfortable.
Really?
How you feel in a room is how I feel when you say, right, you've got to write something.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. So
so that's takeaway number 1 is what is the actual takeaway? Like have the conversations,
have
being around the people, like, don't shy away from people.
Yeah, and just knowing that if like going to a conference is a big investment time-wise and money-wise, but just that 1 10-second conversation could be worth it tenfold.
Yeah. And to us, just to kind of reiterate it, some people can go to a conference and think, right, I'm going to sit in all of those sessions and I'm going to have my takeaways, I'm going to take my notebooks and I'm going to action the things I learn. And then they kind of I don't want to say forget, but they disregard some of the conversations that they have because their mind is set on, I'm going to get those takeaways in those sessions. So the conversation I'm having over a flapjack and a cup of tea in one of the breaks is you don't maybe process it in the same way.
Yeah, or put as much value on it.
Yeah, and that was the same when we went to Social Media Marketing World back in 2020. The biggest ideas and things didn't come from the sessions. That's not to say that the sessions aren't good, but what I'm trying to say is just be open-minded to everything you're kind of taking on board, the conversations you're having, the people you're in the rooms with. because that could be your big thing, not
Yeah, and I
what's said
think
in one of the sessions.
if you don't do that, it could be you could come away feeling disappointed that you didn't get a big breakthrough from a session, and your big breakthrough came when you were having a cup of tea with somebody, but you would never have had that cup of tea if you hadn't been there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, it's well worth it.
Absolutely.
But I think that leads nicely on to big takeaway number 2, which I failed massively at some points, which is that I think you need to have massive boundaries in place when you go to an event like this. Big time. And I don't mean like in terms of who you will allow to speak to you, not those kind of boundaries. Like in terms of what you will and won't do. As in, don't be like me, say to Laura, I'm not going to the party and I want to be in bed at 10 o'clock, and then go to the party and not go to bed till midnight. Like, have boundaries and stick to them.
Yeah, but you've got no regrets.
I've got no regrets because I have massive FOMO if I'm not in the right places.
You'd have missed out on some crackers if you'd have gone to bed.
Yes, I know that now.
But I do think that's important. Like, we're all different, and some people can take it all in and suck it all up and go to everything and be everywhere and go to the after parties, go to the after parties, go partying all night, go out clubbing, all of that jazz. I know I can't. And although I wouldn't necessarily say it was FOMO, but for me, I was like, I knew that we had a lot of our members, a lot of people in our world were there. And I just felt like I wanted to just stick my head in places and say hi, it's and like meet people. And I think, but that obviously we are different like that.
Yeah.
And I think,
and it's not that I don't want to meet people.
Oh, no.
It's that I feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's like I really have to push myself to do that.
Which is why, like, I'm like, as you said, which I'd never really thought about, but we talked about it when we were away. Like, I am the one who will always walk first into a room.
Yeah.
Because and I've never realised that's how I've never realised that you hang back and then kind of come behind me like I'm some bloody bodyguard. Although it is helpful that I'm like a foot taller, so in these busy areas I can see above the people.
And when you're like, look who's over there, and I'm like, I can't see above these people's heads, I've no idea who you're looking at.
But even saying that, so although I was happy to stick my head into not every party or thing, but all the main ones, we were very much like, for the like pre party or whatever it was on the Sunday, we were like, yeah, let's go, we'll have a quick drink. And we went and we did, and we left and we had a good night's sleep. And like the next day we were like, we're not going to get wrapped up in stuff. We just chilled out, we sat, we did some work, we spent time together, we positioned ourselves in the foyer of the hotel. So we're like, when people were coming in, we saw people, we had nice conversations, we got a little bit of work done. So like we knew we could not have filled that day. If we filled that day, we'd have really struggled then to then go in the evening. And we had like the speaker thing in the evening, and then we had the community mixer, and then there was the jazzy shirt thing. So we knew that was going to be a lot. So we kind of paced ourselves, knew what we could and couldn't do. And even at that, we were like, right, that's it. That's enough. We need to go. Because we know what our boundaries are. Like literally physically, we knew we had to leave. And we've kind of learned that over the years from going, like how like we needed that time to get back to the hotel to kind of decompress. And the same for the after party. Yes, happy to go. Yes, happy to talk, and say hello to people. But then equally happy to leave. But then that was the point that we then stayed up in the hotel till midnight. Yeah.
I think maybe it's not just boundaries as well, though, but maybe it's about being really intentional about our time. Like we were really intentional. We knew exactly where we were having dinner, who we were having dinner with on the Sunday. We knew we wouldn't be going and doing that sort of thing on the Monday. We knew what we were going to do. We knew exactly where we would be on the Tuesday for dinner, who we would be with. We'd been invited out for dinner by Vicky Handley, so we knew we were going to do that. And we were very intentional with saying yes to things and saying no to things. And I think you have to do that to preserve your time. But the amount of members who said to me, oh yeah, I went to bed last night at 9 o'clock, or I stayed in the room and I had room service, and the jealousy that was running through me, I was like, oh my God, I had no sleep last night and you've had like 15 hours.
Yeah, didn't like Lynn's have 10 and a half hours sleep on the side?
Like that.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
although I wasn't, I wasn't necessarily jealous of that because I don't regret anything we did. But if we'd have had another night, then that's totally what I'd have done.
Totally, yeah. And when everyone's on the stories when they're like in the bath and I'm standing up, my feet are killing me in a party, and I'm like, oh, I wish I was in the bath.
Yeah. But I definitely think, having those boundaries, as you say, being intentional, and, like we spoke this year, which was a huge thing for us, and you'll, probably seen that on our socials. Like we're not speakers, we're trainers. Like that, my background is trainers, like trainers as in sneakers, training. That's what we love doing. So being a speaker has never been on our thing. And yes, we've both spoken before, but individually, like when we had our own businesses, but never together. So it was always like, oh, do we want to do this? Don't we? And it's like when Andrew and Pete asked us, we were like, well, first of all, we were like, no. And then we were very much, okay, we will, but these are our boundaries.
These are our boundaries.
And our boundaries were, we are not going to stand up there and just talk, high level stuff. We were going up there, we were going to give actionable, we were going to train. It was kind of as close to training as you can get. We wanted people to take stuff away and have actions to take and be kind of inspired to take those actions.
Yeah.
And that was our rules. We were like, if you want us, that's fine.
And we had one other rule, which was that we can't be against Rory Sutherland because we want to go and see him.
Yeah. And they very kindly didn't put us against Rory, although they did put us against Ryan Dias. But
there we go.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I think it's just about enforcing those boundaries that that what works for you, whether it's the pressures on your time, whether it's what you're prepared to do or not do. You don't want to go to things just because other people are going things. You don't need that peer pressure. You need to decide, what do you want to get out of this? And there have been years that I've been to Atomicon and not gone to any sessions because I knew what I wanted to get out of it was the conversations that I knew I was going to have in that foyer.
Yeah.
And every year I've never regretted that.
Yeah. And I think as well, like being intentional, if there's people that you want to meet, when you go to things like this, you need to make that happen. And sometimes that's because the way to do that is invite people out for dinner or say, I want to meet you for coffee. Are you free at this time? Because you can't just rely on people being milling around at the same time that you're milling around. So be intentional with what you want to get out of it. Like Laura said, be intentional with sessions that you want to go to, people you want to speak to, when you want to speak to them, events you want to go to or not go to, all of that stuff. And your energy, preserve your energy for the things that you want it to be there for.
And I think that's a really good point, because I'm going to have a bit of a moan now.
Oh God, here she goes.
I think being intentional and being very specific about people's time, like, I want to speak to you. Can I grab a coffee with you? Can we do this? And having that set time, because if you have set time, then again, you have those boundaries. The amount of times we would just be chatting to somebody and people would just walk up and interrupt the conversations and try to take either us away or the person we were talking to away, is, I think, really rude.
Yeah.
And I was amazed by the amount of people who did that. Now, luckily, when it was happening to us, they weren't important conversations, because we'd made sure we'd had arranged the times to have important conversations where we couldn't have been interrupted.
Yeah.
But people were literally walking over to other people saying, right, I want to speak to you and I want to speak to you kind of now.
Yeah.
And everyone's obviously very polite. So everyone's thinking, and we were like, oh, and it's, yes, I guess you could argue, well, and actually one of the times we were talking to somebody else and someone went up to that person and said, I want to talk to you. They actually said, okay, well, can you come and find me later? Because they were obviously, they were talking to us. But I think it's, I just be wary of that. Like, I know sometimes you can see someone who's passing or just stood at the corner of your eye, go, oh, I really want to speak to them, I'm going to go and grab them. But we should all just be respectful of, common manners, common courtesy. You just don't interrupt people's conversations and expect to be able to take. Like, I would never do that.
No.
Never.
No. I'd be way too shy to do that.
I just think it's really like bullshit. And you could see in those situations that we were in, that you could see.
Well, I could see your face. So I was like, oh.
I was like, shit, like, what the and I could see the people we were with were like, oh, this is really awkward. Like, well, who is this person? Like, why? Like, it's like, maybe you could say, oh, hats off to them.
Yeah.
But
is that a good impression?
No, I don't think so. It certainly wasn't a good impression with me.
Anyway,
but that was just a bit of a side note.
Sidebar, as they say.
How to conduct yourself. But yeah, boundaries and being intentional with your time, I think, is key.
Yeah. Which, funnily enough, is a really good segue to number 3.
Oh, God, it was like, honestly, it's like we planned this and we haven't.
We actually didn't. Love it. So, yeah, big takeaway number 3 is that there seemed to be a recurring theme throughout all the sessions that I went to and all the sessions that people were telling us about afterwards, the ones that we didn't manage to go to, which was about kind of saving yourself time and getting better results by redoing things that are working and reusing stuff. Like, so in our session, we were very much talking about reusing what's working, reposting your content, remixing it so it's the same message but said in a different way, all of those things. We went and saw Grace Andrews, and she was saying that when they do Diary of a CEO, they reuse old content when there's trending topics and stuff. If something's happened in the news, they will go back and find old episodes or old clips that are related. Like she gave the example of, I think it was Chris Eubank Jr.'s fight. And I can't remember if it was him who'd been on Diary CEO or if it was Chris Eubank. Yeah.
No, it was Chris Eubank Jr.
Right. So he'd been on it in the past. He then had a fight. That was all on the news. So they went and got the old clips and republished those old clips because it was timely and relevant. So it's about reusing what's working and what's relevant to the time, what's relevant to your business, relevant seasonally. Just if you run out of content ideas, reusing content. I know there was someone, I think it might have been Sun Yi, somebody told me, was talking about if you're creating a TV advert, you wouldn't just put it on once. You'd put it on lots and lots of times. And on social media, people are reluctant to do that. And there was a very much a running theme of that throughout the day, which I thought was really interesting because it was
really interesting because we talked about that.
We talked about it and we didn't know that other people would be talking about it.
Yeah.
So it's just, like timely conversations and how much like that can not just help you get better results, but just save your energy and your time in your business because we're all busy.
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time and
it's such an easy thing to do. And I think people try to make their lives harder when there's something you can do, which is just so easy to do. And yes, ours was obviously a very different angle from kind of Grace, who was obviously talking about Diary of a CEO, like obviously slightly different business to ours.
Only a little bit. I mean, we've both got podcasts. Don't really know what you're talking about, Laura.
Size, yeah. But it's still relevant regardless of your business. So yeah, it was definitely a theme that we like other people were telling us, because obviously we didn't get to go to all of the sessions, but so that was just really interesting. But I think another theme is you have to take action.
Yeah, you have to work.
You have to do the hard work. And it was really wish I could remember the quote that Teresa had up on her slide. And I totally should have looked.
You don't be upset by the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do or something like that. Yeah.
And it's so true, because you can go to these events, you can write all these notes, you can go away inspired, and then you can close that notebook and then you get home and then you forget it all and you never take action or you never do the hard work.
You go back to Atomicon a year later, your business is still in the same position as it was last year. Nothing's changed. And that isn't because it was a crap event. It isn't because you didn't learn anything. It's because you didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And so it's, and like, there's so much messaging, isn't there, about passive income and having boundaries and only working certain hours and all of that stuff, which is fine, but you still have to do the work. You still have to actually put a bit of effort in if you want some results. Things don't just happen to, people are not just millionaires because they just became a millionaire and they were lucky. They put the work in.
And they didn't just become millionaires overnight.
No.
They tried something, it didn't work. They tried something else, it didn't work. They tried something else, or maybe it worked a little bit better. You have to chip away at it. And
that was another thing Teresa said in her session. She said something, and I am paraphrasing, it was something along the lines of, if you knew that after 10 times of failing, you would have success, you would try really hard to fail 10 times really, really quickly. So how quick can you fail? How fast can you fail?
Yeah.
And I thought that was so good, because it's like, we're all worried of failure, but every single time we fail, we're moving that, a little bit further towards success. And if we hold ourselves back from actually failing in the first place, we're never going to get there. You're never going to achieve whatever it is you want to do, but you have to put the work in to get there in the first place.
Yeah. So basically, do the work. Do the work, but make it easy for you. Like, what can you do to make your business easier? Whether it be your content and you're repurposing your content, fine. But you've got to do the work. Like, you've got to take the steps. It's not just going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. And there is no magic button. There is no one who just went, today I'm going to have a successful business, and it just fucking happens. It doesn't. You have to do the hard work, and doing the hard work will sometimes mean it doesn't go to plan, and it fails. But by failing, you do better and you move on. And, I think it's a hard lesson, and people are scared to fail. We've failed.
Maybe we should
so
be celebrating
much
our failures more.
Well, we should, because we've failed loads, but we don't talk about the failures.
No, but we just moan to each other.
Yeah, but we failed loads, and things haven't gone to plan, and things have flopped, and but if we look back, the path that our business has taken, it's not linear, and it's not up. It's up and then down. It's up, it's down, it's flat, it's down, it's down, it's down, it's a little bit up, it's down, it's up again. It's very much a roller coaster. But some of the peaks and the good times wouldn't have come without the down times and the quiet times and the failures. And sometimes when things have gone wrong, or things haven't, we haven't sold something as well as we thought or we wanted to, or at all, we've got, okay, well, why? Like, what have we done wrong there? Is it the messaging? Is it the product? Is it what can we tweak? What can we change? And then some of the things we now sell a lot of are things we've had for years in the business, but we have been tweaking, refining, changing over time. So we would not have the success of some of our products and services now if they hadn't have failed in the past.
Yeah. And if we'd have just taken that failure to heart and just been like, well, no one wants it, no one cares, let's put it in the bin, it just would be, that's gone, and we'd probably still be in the same position as we were then. Yeah. You just have to keep testing and tweaking and refining and doing the work.
Yeah.
Which, and I know that that's like annoying for somebody to say you just got to do the work, because we all want to be told it's really easy, you can just relax,
you just got to go viral on Instagram.
It doesn't happen. Yeah, annoying.
It's all, anyone who just pipes that kind of crap is lying. Anyone who's like, oh, you can earn thousands in your sleep, when it's maybe, but it's taken you a lot of sleepless nights to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've done a lot of work to get to that point, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, hopefully that was helpful if you've been thinking about going to Atomicon. Make sure you
to be fair, it's a lot of it is transferable to any
kind of event. Remember that it's not just about being in the sessions, it's about like being in real life with actual humans where you can see their legs. I mean, there's nothing like seeing people's legs for inspiration.
Yeah, not my legs.
Boundaries, be intentional. Think about what it is you want from these things. And then, see if there's some sort of recurring theme that you can take with you after the event, because we can often take a lot of things and sometimes those things can conflict. And someone in one session may have said something slightly different to the person in the other session, that the theme that runs through can sometimes be the thing that you should take away with you as the big overall overarching lesson. Atomicon tickets are on sale, by the way, now. We are obviously going again next year, because we go every year. Yeah, they are the cheapest they're ever going to be. So if you do want to grab a ticket, go to thetwolauras.com/Atomicon. We'll put that link in the show notes. And
it's going to be amazing next year.
It will be amazing. But if you're unsure and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can make it, grab a ticket while they're cheap, because you can get a refund right up until, I think it's like early 2026.
Yeah, they're good at giving,
and you'll regret
refunds.
it if they're more expensive. And if you're not in the UK and you can't come to the UK, you can watch virtually. And let me tell you, their virtual experience is like nothing you've ever known. you're not just watching a Zoom call. It's like, it's almost like being in there in person. They have networking, they have parties, they do all sorts online. So don't discount it just because you can't physically be there in the room. Definitely think about it. Yeah, we'll make sure the link for that is in the show notes. And if you do come say hello. We want to meet you all.
Yeah, love it.
There we go.
Right, so can we go and sleep now?
Yeah, let's go have a nanny nap. Love that idea.
Oh no, yeah. I know. Let's go talk about the new thing we want to do.
Okay, yes. Nice. Alrighty, we'll see you all same time, same place next week. Ta-ra!
Yeah. Bye.